Welcome to Ninerology. I'm your host, Alan, and your 49ers have just clinched the number one seed through the playoffs, which means the road to the Super Bowl through the NFC goes through Santa Clara, and most importantly, for the fourth oldest team in the NFL, they have secured that first round bye, which couldn't come at a better time. Eric Armstead needs to get healthy. Christian McCaffrey with his calf that got hurt today needs to get healthy. So many moving parts and people to get healthy on the team. Again, couldn't have come at a better time. Send flowers, hand baskets to the Cardinals for pulling off that upset victory over the Eagles 35-31, and the Cowboys for pulling out that win against the Lions, which means next week's game for week 18 against the Rams, there's no playoff implications. So it's another week to rest your starters if need be. Maybe use it to take a couple of reps. I assume the starters will play maybe a quarter or two just to kind of get that rhythm going. But they are set up for success going into the playoffs. We've been seeing the defense missing tackles here and there, just getting a little bit tired, but that bye is going to come huge. Now, let's go over some of the numbers. Brock Purdy, a huge bounce back game. Now, granted, it was against Washington, who was ranked 32nd in points allowed, but a win is a win, and getting that confidence built back up, we saw Brock Purdy was able to bounce back. He went 22 of 28 for 230 yards, 2 touchdowns, and is now the 49ers franchise leading in passing yards, passing Jeff Garcia and ahead of Steve Young as well. So number one has the record for passing yards in a single season. Well done, Brock Purdy. Now, rushing, Niners had their way with the Commanders. McCaffrey, he had, he was averaging a little over 4 yards a carry. Elijah Mitchell, 17 carries for 80 yards, averaged 4.7. Ayuk, man, he's going to get that bag during the offseason. 7 catches for 114 yards. And the defense finally stepped up. It's a bit scary, which we'll touch on in a bit. But Charvarius Ward and Diamador Lenore both with picks at much needed times. Lenore almost came away with that second pick. Just close, couldn't hold on to the ball on the way to the ground. But 2 huge picks, big confidence boosters for that defense. Talk about that defense. Let's hang around here for a little bit. One of my concerns kind of going into the game was they were seeming a little bit tired, a little bit more worn down. The Commanders averaged almost 4.5 yards per carry while running the ball. Now, luckily, the 49ers were able to get ahead in the second half, which really took away the Cardinals from running the ball, caused them to force some passes, which led to those interceptions. But the biggest thing is we're starting to see kind of that wear and tear, slowing down, getting tired. And so that's why this bye week is super important for this defense. So when they come back, they are ready, should be flying around the ball a bit more. And we saw some action from Sebastian Joseph Day. He got in some reps, and so which is going to, I'm sure, pay dividends later on. He'll probably play a lot more next week to get him prepped for the playoffs. Now, some key takeaways. McCaffrey went out with an injury to his calf. We'll see how serious that is, but we saw on the sidelines he was getting taped up, wanting to go back into the game. But more than likely, Kyle Shanahan probably decided to say, hey, you know what? This isn't the most important game. It's one thing if it's the playoffs, but we've got this game in the bag. We shouldn't need to rely on you. Let's go ahead, get healthy, get those legs, keep those legs fresh, and let's utilize you in the playoffs. So McCaffrey's calf, something to keep an eye on. Looking forward to hearing the update on him later on or early on next week. But also Trent Williams, we saw it was a full go. It looked great. Brock Purdy had all day to throw, so props to the offensive line. 0 sacks were given up, and Brock Purdy was Mr. Elusive. Mr. Magic made some great plays happen, especially that one to Ayuk where he kind of ad-libbed and kind of pointed off to the side, said, I need you to go ahead and break out. And so great news for Brock Purdy, kind of getting back that confidence and that magic. It's really going to pay dividends in the playoffs. Now, number one seed, that's huge because what does that mean? We talked about they get that first round bye. They get home field through the playoffs, which means everybody else who's going to face Santa Clara needs to play in Santa Clara against that crowd and will need to travel. So the 49ers are set up perfectly for a run to the Super Bowl, which is where they want to be and to hold up that 6th Lombardi trophy that they've been chasing for quite a while. And so next week against the Rams, we'll see how many starters they end up resting or how long they end up playing. But my assumption is they play a quarter or two just to kind of get that rhythm going, maybe help some guys get some of incentives in their contract. A key one to look at is how much is Deebo Samuel going to play. We know he's a little over 100 yards away from getting to that trio of 3 players over 1,000 receiving yards. So we've got Brock already, that individual MVP. We'll see what Kyle does with Deebo. He might be just trying to save him for the playoffs and say, let's not get anybody hurt. Let's not risk that. And so we'll see. But huge win for the 49ers, and an even bigger win by the Cards to help the 49ers get that number 1 seed. And that's all we got. We'll check you out tomorrow as we talk about injuries, updates, and what's next for your 49ers.